into Find a Way? Because all these kind of stuff you're talking about with the passion behind the game, the running, what is Find a Way? Like, just in a big nutshell, and then I want to try and explore it a little bit.
Well, the words "find a way" have helped me live a dream and fight to live, and a lot of in between. But the real journey and where it all started was as a kid. I used to hear a lot about write your goals down. I hear teachers go, write your goals down, pin them up in your bedroom. It's where you start and end your day. And, this happens around 1973, 77. So you probably weren't even born around then, but, and I'm not sure that, Australia is probably very similar to the United States. Not everybody had televisions back then. Okay. But if you did, it was a box about, yay big, and there's an antenna, and there's 2 knobs, 3 channels. No remotes even existed back then. So you didn't have a lot of access to see things like we have today. And there's things like this didn't exist. You didn't do a podcast.
It's crazy.
Nope. So, you didn't have the resources that we have today. And you have to paint that picture because people are using the experience that they have today, for people that can't remember 1973 or 77. And they're like, well, what do you mean you didn't have TV? I mean, now you walk in, you have TVs everywhere. So you just didn't have a lot of resources. You didn't see things as constantly and as much as you see them today, and the access to so many different things and exposed to so many different things. So things like, writing your goals down, pinning them up where you start and end your day. I heard that a lot. And I was asked as a young kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? And I remember thinking, God, I don't have no idea, but I go back to the television part because we had a television, but one of our rules on Sunday was we couldn't have the television on. My dad wanted to, nothing on Sundays, and it's more of a holy day and a spiritual day. And so the first time I ever saw television was when I went to my grandparents' house, because they always had their television on Sunday. And it was one Sunday that I went there and their TV was in the kitchen. I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen football on television. It was the Green Bay Packers were playing. And I'm like, a bunch of things clicked for me on that day. I'm like, I know what I want to do. I want to play in the National Football League. I've been doing that in the backyard. I had no idea they're doing it on television. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. I got so excited about that. And then I started thinking like, oh gosh, that write your goals down, pin them up where you start and end your day. Great idea. But I have a problem. I got a little brother and I got a bunk bed. So I actually did write the goal out. And the goal said I would play in the National Football League. I pinned it up on my wall and my little brother tore it down. So I would pray diligently every night that he and that bunk bed would disappear. And it doesn't mean I didn't love my little brother. I'd lay in bed at night, actually fall to sleep thinking about the one thing, if I had my own bedroom, that I would love to have, that I'd never seen in a bedroom. And that's a wall of cork. And the wall of cork was to pin goals up. Well, we had where we lived in Pocatello, Idaho, during the wintertime, our concrete basement was our playground. And my dad announced one night at dinner that we're going to lose our playground during the wintertime. But one of the advantages was I was going to get my own bedroom. Well, as soon as he asked that, I was like, can you make me a wall of cork? He asked why. I explained. He said, I'll see what we can do. So I have some time on my hands. So I write down all my goals. I still have junior high school, college to attend. So I thought, you know what? If I can make a goal in junior high school, college, and every one of those helps me get to my ultimate goal, I'm going to play the National Football League. I'm like, that would be cool to be able to put that on my wall. That's why I wanted a wall of cork, because I didn't want just a cork board. I mean, I was going to put goals all over the place. So it was really that, what I call a moment of truth in life, or a moment of self-reflection, where my room gets done. I walk in, there's my bed bumped up against a wood chair rail, and there's 3 panels of cork above it. It's not an entire wall, but man, it's half a wall. It's big enough. So I jumped up there. I pinned all my goals up. And that moment of truth, which we've all had, where you got to make a choice. I'm sitting there looking at that goal out playing the National Football League. But I start thinking about all the things people used to say to me right after they asked. Hey, Merril, what do you want to do when you grow up? I go, I'm going to play in the National Football League. Oh, man, you know how hard that is? Do you know what the odds of you playing in the NFL are? Oh, son, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We wouldn't want you to be disappointed one day, or it was impossible. Well, I start thinking about all those things. And I go back to that moment of time. That's why I call it a moment of truth. And the more I thought about them, the more I will play in the National Football League was nothing more than words on a wall, because those thoughts consumed my thought process. And I call it a moment of truth, but also a moment of self-reflection, because I had really opened myself up to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'd made a commitment that, like, I want to do that. I mean, that's what I really want to do. And in that process, like, these words "find a way" pop into my head. And they did for me on that day what they still do for me today. They inspire action. They change my thought process. They force ownership in my life, in that I'm in charge of that. I'm in charge of that goal. I'm responsible for that goal. I am the one that's going after that goal. Everything else that's been said to me, if I'm going to let that consume my thought process, then I'm not going to accomplish that goal. But if I do something about that goal and I find out ways to go after that goal, well, guess what? One of two things I've learned will happen. You'll either accomplish that goal, or you'll learn something on the journey you would never have learned that will be valuable in your life had you not went on the journey. So either way, you win.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed my whole perspective of that goal. It washed out all of those negativities. It gave me a sense of energy. It inspired and sparked me to take action, which is a responsibility we all have. I don't care what your circumstance is, your deadline is, whatever you may be facing, you have a responsibility to do something. To sit around and do nothing, well, don't be shocked by the outcome if that's what you choose to do. But to do something about your circumstance is a responsibility we all have. And I felt that in that ownership aspect and that self-reflection moment. And I end up taking my goal, I will play in the National Football League, down a card. And at the top, I had extra like 13 by 16 cards. And I wrote the words "find a way" there. And I stuck those up there. And those words still today are really a principle in my life. I got my goal board over there, and I still write my goals down. I still have visuals, because one of the most powerful things to help any human being in a progressive manner, in a positive energy, no matter what your goal, deadline, or circumstance is, visuals are vital. Visuals are critical at helping one achieve things. They also can be extremely negative. It's going to be a choice in what you want to feed your mind with. You're in charge of that. Nobody else is. If you say, well, everybody kept telling me, whoa, you let it in then. You let it in. You're responsible for that. You're responsible for shutting that out. You're responsible for changing your mindset. You're responsible for finding different ways to do things if that's not working. That's why you self-reflect and check on yourself. Okay, that's your responsibility. That's our responsibility. That's when I talk about ownership. When you take ownership, you do a couple things that are powerful. You end cycles and break chains, and you create new ones that favor you. And that's really where Find a Way started for me. But they've helped me when I was diagnosed with cancer. They've helped me in career-ending head trauma, where I laid in intensive care for days. I had to learn how to read again. Went through major depression. In that state, in those dark state, it was that moment of truth where I was like, I have ownership in this. I got to get my butt off the couch and do something to help myself. Yes, there was a lot of people offering help. I reached out to that help. I accepted that help. That helped the process. And it isn't that I just took ownership, got off the couch, and then everything worked out all right. It still was an arduous journey of 5 years. But if I don't take that ownership and that responsibility on that day, on that couch, it's probably not good. And it still comes back to ownership in everything that you do in your life. You You can point fingers, cast blame, and make excuses all you want, and you will sit in a blender of misery and disaster. I've never seen anybody garner success out of that. And I know that because I've been in that blender.
Yep.
I can't speak to it unless I've been there. And I've been there. So I know the difference of taking ownership and getting out of the blender. I know that those words have been pillars and principles in my life that drive me. You know, they help me through cancer, open heart surgery. They help me live a dream. And I talk about a lot of in between. They've been pivotal in parenting. They've been pivotal in business that I've done. Like every aspect of my life, they play a role. And I'm grateful for that guidance. That's why I like to share it, because find a way isn't about, hey, this is how I found my way, so you do it. No. You take ownership of where you are and what your tools are, and then you find your way. And you have that ability. It starts right here. You know, everything starts here. No matter what one might think, the second a thought is thrown out there, this forms an opinion. This starts the direction. And the more as I tell people all the time, the key to all of this, do you control your mind, or does your mind control you? So the more tools you put into place, when somebody, feeds me negative information, I block that. I know how to handle it, divert it, what channel to put it in, and exit it. Not let my mind or body feed on it. I'm in charge of what I want to be programmed into here, what I constantly feed myself, what I constantly look at and visualize. Those are the things that you become. Those are the things that you will accomplish. And that is all about habits and patterns that you get to put together. Okay. Not that I'm going to tell you to put together, that you get to put together, but you have to take ownership of that and realize you're in charge of that. Once you do, powerful things happen.
I think with all that being said as well, I think those words to find a way makes you question all of that stuff. Because I have been in a little bit of a funk recently with certain things going on. Won't go into too many personal details, but a little bit of a funk here and there. I think most humans and men can, and men don't really like to express their feelings like that. What I have found in that find a way, even just saying that certain 3-word phrase. The first word find, you're looking for something to find or accomplish something. And then, what do you have to do? And then you got to figure out what it is. And then when you say that, when I'm like, okay, because I do Uber on the side to make a bit of coin while I'm doing my part-time YouTube here. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to drive today. But then well, how else am I going to be a successful YouTuber and continue this brand to keep building? Well, I've got to find a way. And then when you tell yourself that, you jump out of bed. But I see exactly what you say. I'm not comparing anything to your stories like that, but just comparing the message of find a way. If you lay down long enough, you're going to sit in that misery, aren't you? And I've been there, just in self-pity for no reason. But then you start putting those positive voices in front of you, and the next minute you're out there driving, you're out there doing something. I think it's a really cool way. It's a really cool thing. To be very honest, I think it's awesome.
Mark, I'm going to just tell you this. You just said what it's about. Honestly, it's about you. It's about, you couldn't have said it any better. To lay around and do nothing. Well, don't be shocked at the results. Okay. And that energy. So something has to, and listen, I understand they're just words. At the end of the day, everything's just words. If they don't stimulate some sense of action and get you to do something, well, they're just words. But if something will hit a fuse, will spark you to do something, to get up off that couch, to, go, yeah, you know what? You're right. If I don't go do that today, I'm not going to be able to do the other thing that I love so much. And I will promise you this. This is a 100% fact. There's not a lot of 100% facts you can get in life. I can promise one of two things is going to happen if a person continues to try and do something every day about their circumstance. Whatever that circumstance is, if they do something, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to stumble and come across something they never, ever dreamed would happen to them, or they're going to accomplish what they're going after. One of those two things is going to happen. But if you do nothing, don't be shocked by those results. There's an experience that I had as a player my rookie year by Chuck Noll. You talk about another principle in my life. This would be a principle. It's opening week. We're going to play the San Francisco 49ers. I'm about to live my dream. I'm going to play my first NFL game, and we're going to play the San Francisco 49ers. They have just won the Super Bowl. They're supposed to win it again. Jerry Rice and Joe Montana are coming to town. One thing I can tell you about the National Football League that existed then and still exists today, if you make a mental error on your dress rehearsal practice, which would be Friday before your Sunday game, I have seen players get cut, escorted off the field, and disappear in a white van, and I never saw them again by making mental errors, not being prepared, walk in there and make a mistake, because coaches can't trust players like that. You can't win with players like that. So what they do is they get rid of them. Well, I step in a huddle, and I've known that. I knew that. So only being in mini camp and training camp for 2-3 months, combination of it all, I knew that all. I already knew that. You step in that huddle, you better know what you're doing. So one of my very first times I step in the huddle on a Friday practice, we call a pass play. Our quarterback, Bubby Brister, calls it pass play. And I know what my responsibility is right away. I'm already walking in my head. I have to block a linebacker if he comes. I hope he doesn't come, because then I want to run a route, and I want Bubby to throw me the football. Well, he gets under center, snaps the ball. My linebacker drops. I run a flat route. He throws a ball at the other side of the field. John Stallworth catches it. And he starts to run. As he's running, whistle blows. The only coach in NFL history to win 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, Chuck Noll, asks me what I'm doing. This is exactly how it starts just before somebody gets escorted off the field and disappears in the white van. That's how it starts. Mm-hmm. When he asked me what I was doing, my first thought was like, oh my gosh, that linebacker may have blitzed. If he was standing by the quarterback, I'm going to the van and I'm disappearing. I'm telling you, I'm done. You don't make that mistake. So I located him, and he was in coverage. I hadn't messed that up. I had run the right route, but the ball was on the other side of the field. So when he asked me what I was doing, I said nothing, because I was just standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said, I didn't keep you on this team to be a common football player. He said, I can bring anybody back we just cut, do what you just did. So I'm going to do you one better. When we walk out of the game for the game on Sunday, I'm going to let you pick somebody out of the stands, and they're going to do what you just did. I didn't keep you on this team to be a common football player. Anybody can do that. Be uncommon. Go help your buddy. Don't just stand there. How do you know he doesn't get hit, fumble, you could recover the ball for us? You can't do that by doing nothing. Better yet, he breaks a tackle, you make a key block for us. We score a touchdown. You can't do that by doing nothing. He said, you know what? Then he stopped and looked at the whole team. He goes, what the difference is between the team coming in here and us? They are more uncommon than we are. They are willing to do the little things and the extra things. We are not. If you want to be a champion, if you want to beat them, be uncommon. Be uncommon in your everyday life. Well, now listen, I'm going to rewind to the huddle. If you ask me, are you doing everything you can as a professional for your team and for your craft, your profession, and your team? Are you? I would have told you yes. I was prepared and I played hard. What more was there? On that day, he widened my scope to more I could and should be doing for my team and my craft.
Mm-hmm.
That changed my career. From then on, I had an uncommon approach. I looked at, and this goes to life in every aspect of life. You're either going to look at the minimum that you're going to do. Don't be disappointed when you get minimum results.
Mm-hmm.
Willing to widen your scope and look at more things you can be doing, should be doing, and be uncommon in your craft, uncommon in your views, you will get more out of your life and you'll get more out of your career. You'll see all the things that you could and should be doing, and you start applying them to your life, and that right there will end up being your difference. That will separate you from your opponent. That will give you the edge that you need. San Francisco 49ers went 15-1 that year. They lost one game. And do you know who it was? To the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You guys? Our guys?
To the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it changed, that uncommon, I've never forgot that. That challenge alone took me from being on the Steelers to being a starter for nearly a decade in the National Football League, because I looked at that every day I came to my locker. I was like, okay, let's be uncommon today. What more is there I can be doing and should be doing? And that comes back to self-reflection. You know, it works with Find a Way, because we all have a responsibility to check in on ourselves. Ask questions like, are you doing your part? Are you getting everything out of your God-given ability? Are you giving maximum effort in the stuff that you're doing and striving for? Okay. Now, why you're the judge and the jury is you can't lie to yourself. Because when you're lying to yourself, you already know you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already know that, right?
You know the truth. You know, so stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself, am I doing my part in life? Am I getting everything out of my God-given ability? Now, the great luxury of doing that is whatever the answer is. If the answer is, no, I'm not. I'm not getting everything out. There is more I can do it. Well, that's the great way of why we check on ourselves. Change it. Make a commitment. Make a new plan. Change that. Close yourself back up and take action. Go get everything out of your God-given ability. I think one of the greatest gifts any human being can ever give themselves is in a moment of self-reflection, at the end of a deadline, the end of a journey, the end of a goal, the end of a dream. You stand in front of the mirror and you ask yourself, did you do your part? And your answer is yes. You can't ask for anything more. And I don't care where you end up. You might be the greatest of all time. You're excellent. You may have not gotten to be the greatest of all time, but you got everything out of your God-given ability. You are excellent. Have peace with that. But the ability to say you did your part in life, I mean, there's nothing more or greater you can ask of yourself. I tell people all the time, nobody's going to hand you an award for working on the personal dirty things in your life. Nobody is. But you can be rewarded. You can be rewarded with peace, joy, happiness, and personal success. And that inner peace is better than any trophy you might have on your mantle one day, to be able to give that to yourself.